What is up, Dynasty Leaguers? It's your boy Ray GQ, host of the Destination Devy podcast. You know who it is. We are back with picks 201 through 212. Addison Hayes has conducted this video rookie mock draft series where a bunch of writers over at DLF, DynastyLeagueFootball.com, we got together, had a rookie draft, and the first round, we know the names, the usual suspects: Cam Akers, DeAndre Swift, Jonathan Taylor, Jerry Jeudy, CeeDee Lamb. But round two is, man, that's where we start to shake it up. There's some players who may go a little bit higher than consensus rankings, a couple of players who may be left out in round two. But the good thing is you can see how we decide to pick, how we draft, where we value these players, where they're selected at, so you can go ahead and start making your plans here for your rookie drafts that are kicking off in the next couple of weeks. So hope you enjoy round two. If you have yet to check out round one, please go back and check out that video. It's in the link in the description below, and we'll be back with round three here shortly. So enjoy.
This is Bruce Mattson, Senior Staff Writer of DynastyLeagueFootball.com, and I'm here to make the first pick in the second round for a rookie mock draft. So for 2.01, I'm selecting Denzel Mims, wide receiver from Baylor. And there's a lot I like about this guy. He was productive throughout his collegiate career. He had a 19.9 breakout age, 67th percentile amongst wide receivers, and then he's an athletic specimen. He ran a 4.38 40-yard dash at 6'3", 207 pounds, ran a good three cone, good vertical, and he was able to post a 42.3% dominator rating at Baylor, 86th percentile amongst all wide receiver prospects. And I like his ability to bring in contested catches, to use his size to body up wide receivers. He's got strong hands. He's a very reliable wide receiver. He can get downfield. He can do just about everything. And I love this price point because if you look at the rookie draft app on DynastyLeagueFootball.com, for him to fall to the first pick in the second round where I'm getting him at, there's a 20% probability of that even happening. So I'm getting him at a good discount because more than likely he's going in the later mid portion of the first round of rookie drafts, and I just happen to steal him here with the first pick of the second round. So book that up. I'm drafting Denzel Mims with the first pick of the second round, and I'm ecstatic about this pick.
What's happening, everyone? Mike me up, back at you with my second round pick. And at 2.02, I decided to go for my guy, Antonio the God Gibson. Now, I absolutely love him as a player. And in the second round, you got to remember, like all those elite top tier running backs are now gone. And you're basically picking between like some of the more fringe wide receiver types, right? So for me, it just comes down to trying to find a really dynamic playmaker. And Antonio Gibson fits that bill to a T, right? His versatility is what attracts me to him the most. So in his last year, he had 38 receptions for 735 yards, good for 19 plus yards per reception. Added another 33 totes on the ground for 369 yards for over 11 yards per carry. Altogether, this guy had 1,100 yards from scrimmage on 71 touches for 15 yards per touch. I don't care where you're playing. If you're at the college level and you're that efficient and getting that much production off that little touches, it takes a special playmaker to do that. And on top of that, he returned kicks. He returned a bunch of kicks. I think he averaged like 28 yards per kick, and then also add on top of that another touchdown. So honestly, if you watch this guy on film, like he was basically unstoppable. Like he was hitting holes incredibly fast. He's breaking tackles. He's just a total freak, right? And it's completely validated when you go and look at his combine performance. You know, we talk about JT and his speed score. My guy, Antonio, he went to the combine and lit it ablaze as well. He ran a 4.39 at 220 pounds. So right up there with JT with that 99th percentile speed score. This guy's just an absolute freak, right? And He's going to declare as a wide receiver, but there's a lot of talk about him going to running back, which would be the ideal fit for him. Like, imagine him in a Kyle Shanahan offense, being deployed out of the backfield, out of the slot as a receiver. There's just so many ways I think that he can be used, and that's an extremely attractive feature because it's going to get him opportunities to get on the field, and people are going to manufacture touches for him. And that's going to result in fantasy points and make him a fantasy asset. So, look, people might have think I reached, but I'm a huge proponent for getting your guy, and this is that guy for me. And if he gets the draft capital, like, look out. There's no stopping this guy. Make sure you get your guy. Make sure you get him on your team. You won't be disappointed. This dude's just a freak. He's just a total package and just a lot of fun to watch, man. You're not going to be disappointed.
Hey everyone, so I'm back on the clock here at the 2:03. A lot of things going through my mind right now. Really looking at the wide receiver position with the guys that are left. So I'd be looking at guys like Michael Pittman, Laviska Shenault, Bryan Edwards are in my next tier of guys here. I'm gonna take Michael Pittman out of all these guys. I think he's going to be the most steady and the most solid contributor on a fantasy team, and that's really what I'm looking for in guys in the second round. I'm not looking for boom bust plays. I'm looking for guys that can give me consistent fantasy points, and that's something that I want out of a second round pick. So if we go to the stats on Michael Pittman Jr., 6'4", 220 pounds, I think the first thing that jumps off, especially when you watch his film, is just the high catch percentage. 95 catches on 113 targets, adds up to 84% catch rate. And then he adds over 1,200 yards and 11 touchdowns. If you're a dominator rating guy, he clocks in at a 31.8% dominator rating, which is incredibly good on a team that had some really great pass catching options here, like Amon-Ra St. Brown, Tyler Vaughn, Drake London, had all these guys. One of the things that I like to look for, especially with a guy that's this tall, this 6'4", 220, is I'm going to look at the red zone production. He was targeted 15 times in the red zone, had 12 catches. Ended up scoring on 5 of those 12 receptions. So that's definitely something I want to look for. He was clearly targeted in the red zone when he was able to get about 13% of his targets were actually in the red zone. So it's definitely something that I look for. And then I want to make sure that when he was facing quality competition, that he did okay. And so we see Utah, he had a good game, 10 catches, 232 yards, and a touchdown. He was a little lackluster against both Notre Dame and Oregon, and that was definitely partly contributed to the quarterback change. And then the last 2 games of the season, California and UCLA. California, he goes 11 catches for 180 yards and a touchdown. In UCLA, he goes 13 catches for 104 yards and 2 touchdowns. So definitely he's able to put up those really, really big games. There wasn't a game in college where he had under 4 receptions. So he definitely is a guy with a safe floor, and that's definitely what I'm looking for at this spot. So I'm very happy to get Michael Pittman here at, the position 203. I'm very happy with this pick.
What's going on, everybody? It is Chris Allen again here at the 204 to make my selection in the DLF draft mock. And as I mentioned beforehand, in my 104 pick, that process was fairly easy as to who is available on the board. Here at the second round, a little bit more difficult, but as I started to look through the available prospects, that decision kind of came pretty clear to me after a little while. And hold on a minute. And okay. All right. All right, well, hold on. No. Let me not get distracted. Let me not get distracted by highlights here. But I'm going with Laviska Shenault because I think at this point in the draft, looking through some of the other picks, Michael Pittman was a guy that was on my radar, but again, I get sniped and I had to adjust. And I think that Chenault's biggest knock is his performance in the combine, and I think rightfully so. He had a poor outing. His 40 speed wasn't all that great, and on top of that, he limped off afterwards. But if again, I'm stuck in these highlights because I want to try and project what he could be, assuming health and assuming a good landing spot. So with this, I still think that given who was taken in front of me and where he's sitting at, could be a value pick here at the 204. So I went with a guy that I still think has potential in the NFL in Shenault. And so that's why I chose him at that point. So, all right, who's next?
Frank Gruber here with the 205. I'm taking Keyshawn Vaughn, running back from Vanderbilt. When I think of him, I think of production, good size, about 5'10", 215, a good solid runner, good involvement in the passing game. I think 28 receptions, the most in one season. That's fine. Elite dominator rating, good all-around involvement as a rusher and receiver, and good market share of production. Was sniped on Laviska Shenault, one pick prior, probably would have chosen him over Vaughn, but still like Vaughn at the 205 value. Strongly considered Bryan Edwards, whom I've been a fan since 2017, his legendary 99th percentile overall breakout age. Will forever live in the lore of the Devi community, but he's amassed few too many red flags for me to want to take him over Vaughn at this point, due to injuries and frankly coming back for his senior year as well. There's a lot of numbers showing that receivers who don't declare early have an uphill climb to fantasy relevance, and at 205, I think it's a bit too early in this format to choose one of the two elite quarterbacks. So Vaughn is the pick here.
It's Joseph Namor again, and with the 206 pick in the DLF pre-draft rookie mock, I select Brandon Aiyuk, wide receiver from Arizona State. Aiyuk's an explosive player who plays faster than his 4.50, a 40 time at the NFL Combine. Aiyuk's dynamic with the ball in his hands, having averaged nearly 10 yards after the catch throughout his college career, and he's also a terrific kick returner. Aiyuk looks like a player who could get round 1 draft capital in the NFL draft, which to me would make him a steal at the 206 pick. I do have some concerns about him not breaking out until after N'Keal Harry left, and I also made this selection before I saw that Aiyuk had a core muscle surgery performed this week, so there are some concerns, but I decided that he was probably more of a lock to get high draft capital than the other players I was considering in this area, them being Bryan Edwards and Darrynton Evans, and I decided to go with a wide receiver over taking Joe Burrow and making him the first quarterback off the board. So with the 206, I will take Brandon Aiyuk.
Hey, this is Noah Ballwig, writer for Dynasty League Football, and with the 7th pick in the second round of the pre-mock rookie draft, I selected Bryan Edwards, wide receiver out of South Carolina. I like this prospect a lot for a variety of different reasons. First of all is his breakout age at 17 years old in the 100th percentile. As a freshman at South Carolina, he has great consistency over his 4 years in South Carolina, and also in the top 95th percentile in the market share app, playing alongside former second round NFL pick Deebo Samuel. So he doesn't have to be the number one guy, but he's still going to put up great production numbers. I think my number one concern is injuries, which he has unfortunately faced throughout his career, freshman to senior, ending with a broken foot his senior year and causing him to miss the NFL Combine. So we never really got to see what he was going to do physically at the Combine. But what we do know is that he's athletic. He has a lot of, makes a lot of acrobatic catches, is great at going up and getting the ball over defenders, and great size at 6'3". So with the 7th pick in the second round, Bryan Edwards.
What is up, everyone? It's your boy Addison Hayes here with my 208 pick, and I decided to go with my hometown guy, KJ Hamler, wide receiver out of Penn State. And I'm not going to lie that this isn't some sort of a homer pick or anything. I'm born and raised Central PA, went to Penn State, graduated from Penn State, watched every game of KJ Hamler's over the past 2 years, and he's just a really exhilarating guy and a fun player to get the ball to in open space. I love him. He's fantastic. And I think he's going to translate into today's NFL much more so than, receivers of his size or his skill set would have, 10 or 15 years back, where a lot of these comps for him are coming from. But so I wanted to take a little bit more of a deep dive into the comps for him, because KJ Hamler, yes, he's a small dude, and that's his biggest knock coming into the NFL is he's small, and he's not going to be able to succeed in the NFL because of that, because of previous receivers who came in at his size. So I filtered down my combine database down to players who measured in at 5'10" or under with a BMI of 27 or under. And there's a lot of pretty good names on here. We got Deontay Johnson, Marquise Brown, McCole Hardman, Santana Moss, T.Y. Hilton, Deshaun Jackson, Philip Dorsett, Tyler Lockett, John Brown, Marquise Goodwin, Eddie Royal, just to name you the prominent guys on this list. And yes, there's other names on here, Brandon Williams and Willie Reed and what have you. They didn't do anything in the NFL, but those were, again, 15 years ago. And when you look at the combined top wide receiver finishes from the other names that I just listed, 7 top 12 years, 16 top 24 years, and 27 top 36 years. So there is production to be had here. And at the back end of the second round, I think you could do a lot worse than KJ Hamler, especially when you factor in the fact that he's going to have a day 2 draft capital, as I've seen a lot of mocks taking him in the second or third rounds. And if he can get to an offense that utilizes his skill set to the maximum and gets him the ball in open space, much how I think about how Andy Reid uses Tyreek Hill and other coaches use similar players, he's going to have an opportunity to thrive, on top of the fact that he can return punts and return kicks on special teams, which is going to give him playing time and going to be able to showcase his skill set to his NFL team. So that's why I went with KJ Hamler in the back half of the second round, and I love the guy. I'm going to take him everywhere. So good luck to you guys in your rookie drafts, and I hope that you're all able to grab some KJ Hamler in the second round, because you're definitely going to love that pick.
Hey guys, I'm back on the clock at the 209, and pretty surprising to me that Joe Burrow has fallen this far. So with the 209, I select Joe Burrow, the quarterback out of LSU. Once again, this is a single quarterback mock or single quarterback kind of format, but ultimately being able to get potentially, more than likely, the number 1 overall player in this 2020 draft, to be able to get somebody who's arguably the best talent in this draft, as to some experts, and to get somebody who's going to immediately make an impact on the team that he's drafted to. So even though it's a single quarterback league, there's going to be teams who are quarterback needy, have guys on the age cliff. There's going to be guys rocking, a host of quarterbacks trying to put it together, piece it together. And especially because of the talent that's going around this spot right here. So ultimately you just saw Bryan Edwards and KJ Hamler go to the 2 picks before him. Both guys I like. Both guys have good upside, but give me the locked, loaded best player at his position. Really the only other player I considered here was Tua Tagovailoa, and that's solely because I'm a gigantic fan. I think he's a super stud. Obviously there's question marks there with health. In the draft format, I like Tua better than Joe Burrow as a prospect personally, but playing the game, playing the fantasy game, playing the value game, I'm going to take the surefire guy in Joe Burrow now, who has the most perceived value, generally across the landscape, who I think I can get more from, or just put him on my team and move an older guy or do something like that just to play that long-term play there. So I really like Joe Burrow here at 209. That feels like a steal. I feel like an easy pick. A couple guys that are going after him that I'm sure you're going to hear right after this. Like I said, Tua. There's guys still like Darrynton Evans, who I'm a big fan of. But it just felt easy to take, Joe Cool, Smoking Joe, whatever his new nickname is now, Joe Burrow with the EAUX or whatever. But give me the number 1 overall pick in this 2020 NFL draft.
Hey, what's up, everybody? With the 210 selection in the DLF rookie mock, I'm taking Antonio Gandy Golden. And at 6'4", 220, that's all the upside I need at the 210 spot. That's pretty late. We're looking for upside here. No more studs really left, especially in 1 QB. That value's not pushed back. He ran about a 4.6, which isn't terrible for his size. He had 2 very productive seasons in a row. Last year, almost got to 1,400 yards, about 78 catches. 10 touchdowns in both of the last 2 years. So 2 seasons in a row over 1,000 yards, even at Liberty, is pretty impressive, especially over 70 receptions. And at that size, that's a lot of upside, especially if he ends up going a little early in the NFL draft. He might not be there at 210 come year draft time, so he's definitely somebody to keep in mind.
All right, coming back at the 211 spot, I'm going to double up and go running back again, and I'm going to take the explosive guy out of Appalachian State who had an absolutely fantastic combine, Darrynton Evans. I'm a big fan of Evans's game, and according to, looking at some mock drafts recently that were conducted, I mean, he's going into the second, top of the third round. So right here, I think it was appropriately placed. A couple of other guys that I was looking at, potentially Brandon Aiyuk, Keyshawn Vaughn, Antonio Gibson went really early, Michael Pittman. So I think at this point in time at 211, I'm going to take the running back upside, and, he's getting buzz as potentially a third-round pick. And then if he gets that draft capital with his skill set, can run the ball, catch the ball, but the most intriguing thing about his game is the dynamism, right? He can return kicks, average over 25 yards. The kick return in college, back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. So I think he's got a skill set that's very useful at the next level. So I was cool taking Darrynton Evans here at the 211.
With pick 2.12 in the DLF pre-draft rookie mock, Nathan Powell, I select Tua Tagovailoa, quarterback, Alabama. So with this pick, this is a pick that is similar to what I make often in the late second round or early third round of rookie drafts. At this stage of the rookie draft, I believe all the players, all the running backs and wide receivers that were selected on day 1 and day 2 are gone. So then you're making a decision of, do I want a day 3 running back wide receiver, sometimes occasionally a day 2 tight end, or do I want the day 1 quarterback? And for me, when I'm contemplating player who was taken top 5, top 6 in the NFL draft versus 4th round running back, more often than not, I'm going to take the quarterback, and that's the case with Tua Tagovailoa. Obviously, the main concern with Tua is his injury, but if he goes in the top 5, top 6, that shows that some NFL team has faith in his hip and the injury isn't as much of a concern. It might be a slower start to his career, but at the end of the day, before the injury, Tua is one of the best quarterback prospects we've ever seen. He essentially averaged 13.0 AYA over the last 2 seasons, which is nuts. Basically, the record is like 12. So he's averaging the record. So obviously, one of the best quarterback prospects we've seen. The only hindrance on its profile is the injury. And if he goes top 5, top 6, then that's less of a concern for me. And the quarterback is just, the top 5 quarterback is more valuable than that 4th round running back wide receiver.
All right, that's going to do it for the second round of the DLF rookie mock draft. There were some picks, man. There were some interesting picks, some super talented players. Antonio Gibson going at the 202. Listen, when it's all said and done with his skill set, with his talent, I don't know how much of a reach that really is. You still had Antonio Gandy Golden going in the second. Both quarterbacks off the board. Keyshawn Vaughn, Laviska Shenault, KJ Hamler, tons of talent in the second round. If you haven't done so yet, make sure you trade for some second-round picks, man. There's going to be great value in these upcoming rookie drafts. And most importantly, if you have yet to subscribe to the DLF YouTube channel, make sure you do that. Hit that notification bell. That way, every time fresh new content drops on the channel, you don't have to go searching for it. You know where it's at. You know where to find us. And we'll be back for round 3 of this rookie mock draft series very shortly. But stay tuned. Stay locked in. Peace.